is kind of how I read the body language. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But it was such a weird kind of non-response here, where she basically doesn't even really move her left foot when that's, you'll see it here. Yeah. That's just open up your left foot.
But that's a great image of it. So if you go back to that, and this is what I mean by her far post is covered right here. If Banda tries to bend this far post, it's blocked. Okay. Unless it's like, which you got to give it up to Barbara Banda. It's the most ridiculous shot ever, and it bends around everybody and goes into the upper 90, which is possible. But you, again, have to go with the odds here and the angle of this play. And there's really only one place for Banda to go on this.
Yeah.
And that is near post. Now, your far post is covered. As a goalkeeper, you know it's going near post. She has good positioning, I think. I think she has good positioning, considering where the ball is.
She's maybe like, for me, like 2 or 3 inches to her right. Like I'd want to move her, I'd want to move her to
the near post more,
just a little bit.
But I think she's flat. I think she's totally flat-footed, and you can see it in this snapshot right here. And so she is totally, and now she's presetting while the ball's being struck, so she can't react. And she does a double wide set, so now she's too wide, so she can't get that leg. Right. So now she's landing as the ball is approaching that foot. Great slow motion, by the way. There's nothing she could do right here. Now, this is one of the hardest saves to make when somebody drives a ball, is that ball right next to your ankle. Yeah, right. So when you're in a wide stance, it's a tough thing, but that's what you have your feet for. Right. So that's a kick save. You know, if you can't get your hands down, which we were never really taught, but I would say nowadays it's a kick save. Right. But she set too late. She double set on it too wide. And so she can't react to this. Well, this was painful to watch. This was painful.
I'm about to stop watching this because it was so painful. All right. So when we say kick save, just to be clear, like really it's that's the instep of your foot, not so much the laces. So like turning your.
No, just
opening up just a little bit, because you try to go laces. I think that's kind of in part what she tries to do, is like it kind of rolls off her foot into it, because I think it does clip her.
This is just, it hits her shin. She can't get, and you're just literally opening it up, kick save, like a block, like that's it. But I think it comes down to, she was flat-footed when Banda went to strike the ball, so she had to set again. She set too late, a little bit too wide, I think, for this. I think you have to be a little bit more narrow because of how close Banda is, where your position. So see this, and boom, see that double set right there?
Yeah.
So she set again after Banda struck the ball. So set, and now set. Watch, she's going to set. Boom.
It's already happened, yeah. That timing sequence is very, very tough. I mean, like this ball comes in half a second, less than half a second. I mean, you don't have, and this is something I think a lot of goalkeepers struggle to understand. If you lose 2 or 3 tenths of a second,
yes,
it can be a big deal. And you may think,
and it is a big deal here. Like, I think on the first one, when Banda comes across, she set because she thought Banda was going to strike it the first time, maybe. No, maybe not. I just think she set too early, and then when you set too early, so set. So she thinks Banda's going to shoot it, and she is, but she's set too early here.
Yeah.
Okay, Banda lets it roll, so now she feels she has to set again. Honestly, the set again is what beat her. Like, just do what you can, but she's flat-footed. So it was just bad timing. Like, bad repetition, set too early, then double set too wide, and now you're in such a tight space that you can't react to it.
Yeah, I think if she just like kept her weight forward here instead of trying to find that resetting motion, she just kept her weight forward and then just kind of shifted.
She makes that save.
Yeah,
I agree with you. She makes the save.
She's not going to cover everything. If she hits that top 90, like I don't think she covers it. I mean, it'd be a fantastic save, but cover what you can here. Like you're working with the angle. You've got a defender covering back post. For the most part, cover what you can here and don't give up something past you. So, all right, that's enough for me. I'm done.
You don't want to watch that one anymore. Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, because like I told you, I feel that had they got into PKs in this game, I mean, Morehouse didn't have anything to do, and I feel that I would have given the nods to Kingsbury, and that's more because of a mental thing. I think the other team knows Kingsbury right now is hot on PKs, even though we've broken down the PKs and said they were bad PKs, good saves, but bad PKs at the same time. And if we go back to the beginning of the show, like I don't know why wouldn't have Morehouse on that final 3 list, and I don't think she was a game changer for Orlando. Here and there, she came up with a couple good saves, which you expect in a game. But there are a couple other goalkeepers, like I said, that were such an impact on their teams, whether their teams made it to the playoffs or not, whether they made it to the finals or not, whether they won the championship or not. They kept their teams alive, and kept games competitive and gave their teams a chance all season. And so I would have gone with somebody else.
Yeah. No, I think Hot being on there or not, like I'm kind of, I could take it or leave it. I think she did very well this season for what she had, but I didn't leave the season thinking, wow, that's a top 3. But I didn't think she was bad. But for me,
I think it's because how they came out the second half of the season. Because if you go off the first half of the season, they were getting destroyed.
Yeah.
So Kansas City was like bleeding goals. And then they made the 80 French took a seat and they made that change. Yeah. So I think maybe that's why. But I think there are a couple players that are interchangeable there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Well, let's shift gears a little bit because we got some big news with. I'm trying to think of the right adjective for her because I guess legend's probably the easiest one to throw out there. Just I feel like I've seen that a lot, but Alyssa Nair has announced her international retirement. Mm-hmm. We have these European friendlies coming up, which is a big good competition. But I saw some people commenting how it's very fitting that Nair has announced her international retirement, and she's basically playing these games away from the U.S., where it's going to really minimize the publicity, which really matches kind of like
her demeanor.
She's not someone.
She's not on the tour.
Yeah.
Retirement. I think Megan Rapinoe's still on her retirement tour.
Yeah, like hey, she's like, hey, I'm finishing up. I'm done. So I'm just going to go ahead and play some saves here that I've pulled. So thank you to the women's football YouTube account that I pulled it from. A lot of penalty saves, a lot of big moments here. But as we go through this, I thought it might be fun to quiz you.
Oh God, no!
See how your national team knowledge is.
No, don't quiz me.
I think you can do all right. But
no.
Can you give the top 10 most capped goalkeepers for the U.S. women's national team? We'll go. I think you can get a number of them, so I'm not too worried about it. But
top 10 would be
top 10 all time caps U.S. women's national team
would be in order.
No. I mean, you can try if you want, but yeah.
In order, I'm not sure I can get that, but I think it would be Solo, Scurry.
Yeah, that's 2.
Nair.
Yeah.
So it's 3. God, you gave me 10. Harvey.
Yep.
God, I'm on 4.
You're gonna start kicking yourself here in a second.
It drops off. I know that. That's why.
Yeah, and that's the bottom. The 6 through 10 slot are tricky.
Well, I think you would have a Wyatt in there. I'm not sure. A Maslin in there.
No Maslin, no Wyatt.
Really? Okay. That's because we never played back then.
Yeah, it made it difficult. Very difficult.
Wait.
You know how many caps you finished with?
Just around 30.
Oh, you're off on that.
Oh, am I?
Well,
I was rostered for over 100 games.
You got yourself. You're top 10. You're top 10.
I'm top 10. Okay,
helps,
cool.
Yeah.
Damn, you know what? I feel like Jen Cooper just sent me this. You've got Mullenix.
Yep, very good.
Is in there.
You got 6 right now.
Do you have Noonan in there?
Noonan's in there. Yeah, very good.
Noonan's in there. 7.
I'm pretty sure the their colleges are Stanford, UNC. I need to double check on one of these. I want to say.
Well, Noonan would be UNC, but Mullenix would be UNC.
She just retired a couple years ago. UCF is the other one. From the 80s, 90s is the third one.
Who was the keeper?
Yeah, you got a UNC keeper who retired a couple years ago. You've got a Stanford keeper still playing.
All right, I'm deferring right now, but I think I've come up with a thing.
You're gonna kick
and
yourself.
myself is in there. Mullenix. Oh, look at me! Oh my gosh, I'm that high.
Yeah.
Okay. Harvey.
But
Ashlyn Hare, Saskia, and Barnhart. What is wrong with
I
me?
just want to help you.
And Amy. I was gonna say Amy. Casey Murphy.
So Murphy's 11 there.
Yeah. So what's wrong with me? Ashlyn Hare. Sorry, Ashlyn. Of course, Ashlyn. I'm not like, come on. But I think I got more than any of them would have gotten. Like, so if you would have, they wouldn't have known about like me, Harvey, Amy, Barnhart, of course, Barney, of course. There. Wow, I didn't realize. That's funny.
It's so funny to me that Barnhart is, I mean, she's 42. She's still rolling. She's yellowed out because she's still active. And
then, of course, Amy. I was going to say Amy. Yeah.
But Nair, this is also the Nair's got a different cap total. This is out of date from Wikipedia, but she's still third all time. But yeah, no, okay. Again, I figured you get most of them, but you get some apologies to go.
Yeah, I know. I have some apologies. One, especially to Ashlyn and Barney.
Yeah, that's right.
100%. But like I said, to do that quiz for them, and I think they would have missed some people.
Yeah. No, that would be good. That'd be good. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up with two quick things here as we kind of
call-ups.
So we got call-ups here. So real quick, we have so we have a really interesting group here. I thought it was fascinating that there's only one cap between the other two pulled up, and I think this is for a lot of fans implying, hey, this is the direction we're gonna go. I'll be honest, I think these two are at a good spot here. I mean, Fallon's doing very well with Manchester United for a bit.
So if our viewers don't know, like, Fallon's had kind of a little bit of a journey, and I like this call up personally. Like, she was in the NWSL, then she went to play pro in France. Then she came back to the NWSL where she wasn't starting, and then she got the call into Man U with Earps there. So then you're like, Fallon, oh my God, what are you doing? But then obviously Earps leaves, and now Fallon's doing very well. And this is a lot of the times what we talk about sometimes you got to go find your place, and you have to say, do I want to sit on a bench here? Do I want to keep knocking my head against a wall, or do I have to roll the dice and move? And obviously I think with the call over to Man U, I think that she probably already knew. I'd love to ask her that though. Maybe I'll give her a call. Like that Earps was kind of going to leave. I like this call up. I think this is indicative of when you look at Nair retiring from her international, whether this is a conversation that was had, I'm sure it was, that we're starting to look at these younger keepers, and we have to make a change. And you and I have talked about that. It's time to make a change. I know, I'm sure we'll see Casey Murphy back in the mix here and there. It depends on how her next season goes, in my opinion. I thought her season was a little up and down. It got better towards the end of the season. I think Jane Campbell, you'll probably see back in the mix. But it's obvious that they're going to start expanding the goalkeeper pool and giving these younger goalkeepers and these like keepers with no caps. Because why? Because there's 3 years until the World Cup. 3 years.
Welcome to the Keeper Institute podcast. My name is Tori Corsaro. I'm a strength and conditioning and goalkeeper coach here at the Keeper Institute, and your host for today's show. The Keeper Institute is a unique goalkeeper training facility in New Jersey aimed at developing better goalkeepers and better people. On this podcast, we will be discussing all things goalkeeping, character development, and more. Welcome back to another episode of the Keeper Institute podcast. Bow, bow, bow. I have the one, the only, the master of greatness, one of the few male employees at TKI, Kieran Burns, with us today on the podcast and doing it solo. JL's got a little something going on, so it's just me and KB over here. Kieran, introduce yourself to the people.
Wow, what an intro, Tori, honestly. Couldn't have thought of anything better. But I'm Kieran. I've been a coach at TKI for 5 years now, I think. It's a while, 5 years. I played at Haddon Township High School in New Jersey, and I went to school Rutgers Camden and played there as well. And since I graduated, I've just been coaching with Jill, Maria, Tori, and the whole gang at TKI. So it's been a blast.
And we're so lucky to have you, and watching you from your internship to now. Like, I know you'll make jokes about like different things about you during your internship, but I think that it's really important for the people to know that I don't know that there's many people who have grown in their level of like, yeah, game understanding, technical, tactical, and in their job, but also just like as a human being as you. And we're so lucky, and all of our goalkeepers are so lucky that you're there. And now I have a little brother. I never had a little brother, and I just love it.
Yeah, I feel like I found myself at TKI, honestly, like more just like seeing the drive that everybody had and everyone just being the best versions of themselves at the end of the day, just kind of made me fix some things that I needed to work on overall, just like outside of coaching, just more in my personal life. And I feel a lot happier now, a lot better about myself overall. I feel like more drive and just more aspirations and more goals. And it's just awesome. It's just great when you're around like-minded people that want the same for you or just want to do the same for themselves.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I think that's a sentiment that you and I can definitely relate on and share, and like just the sure impact and like kind of growing up almost with the company. Like you and I were probably, I was a little older, maybe the same age as you, like when you interned versus like when I came. So we have that similarity of like, wow, it feels like I did a lot of my growing and my growth here. But to go like a little bit more back, and then we'll come forward to your job at TKI, what do you think like your goalkeeper training, or like, I'm not sure if you coached much before coming to TKI. Like what was your experience with the position or coaching like prior to TKI?
Yeah, I had like, I feel like a really relatable story when it comes to like being put in goal. Just was playing high school soccer and nobody really wanted to play in goal, or we didn't honestly have a JV goalkeeper my freshman year. And my friends still to this day love to like rag on me about it. But we were riding our bikes home after practice, and the JV coach was like mentioning that I should go in goal. And I was like, I was totally against it. I loved scoring goals. I loved playing the field. Just a lot of players I watched on TV were like scoring goals, like getting assists, and that's all that where my head was at. And it was tough. And a lot of my friends just convinced me to do it because they're like, you'd be so good at it, man. Like, we really believe in you and we think you can do it. And there's an easier role for you to play on varsity. So I kind of just got thrown into goal with zero training or like zero experience. And one of my neighbors ended up giving me some like small technical training with cones, nothing really like mind blowing at all, just like footwork through cones with some handling and diving. I had a goalkeeper coach in high school that I did private lessons with, but same idea. It wasn't like anything on the tactical side of the game, was just a lot of technical training. I'd say more like old school training at the end of the day. I feel like that's what people call it now. And then I got into college, and I had a goalkeeper coach in college, but he wasn't showing up to practice every day. And same idea. I didn't really think like I gained much knowledge from the position when I was training, like up until I started working at TKI. And now looking back, I struggled a lot. And I feel like the reason was because I didn't really get put in those situations where I was struggling in training. And it was difficult. I just thought I was just bad at it at the end of the day, which kind of stinks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's not what you want. Like you don't want what you don't know because you don't know it, like because no one ever told you about it, to impact like the way you felt about your development or the way you feel about yourself as a goalkeeper. So it's definitely not what you want. And like I'm sure like a big inspiration or a big like reason behind why you do what you do, like to help other goalkeepers not feel that.
Yeah, I felt like just so lost sometimes. Like I'd be at training and like my college coach was just like, yeah, the goalkeeper coach isn't coming today. Like he had some other obligations, which is fair. Like he worked a full-time job. He worked in club. Like he had a lot on his plate. So any day he could come, I was really grateful that he could show up. But we wouldn't really be involved in team training that much up until the end when we play small sided. So for the first like 45 minutes of practice, I wasn't really doing much. And looking back, like over a whole season or a whole like 3 or 4 years in college, you don't really see much progression from that. And that's where I feel like things like protecting the space or like the half space or even just set pieces in general, like I would just be like, man, like I got to work on these. So I'd have one of my friends like clip a ball in the box. And then when it translates to the game, like nothing of it really like paid off at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And it's just so hard when you don't have that like support system, or you don't have like guidance in what should I be doing? Like if this isn't working, or if you need me to be better in this area, then what do I do to get that? And you're obviously a student of the game, and like you're someone who I think probably watches more soccer than most people. And like, you know, you knew what you kind of like wanted to be able to do from watching, I'm sure, but it's like, okay, well, what do I do to get there? So with like that being said, how would you say that like once you were integrated in TKI, it helped you evolve both with the position and teaching the position as a coach?
Yeah, I think I told this story to Jill. Like this kind of goes into just like the environment of TKI too, and I have like a really like you ever had like just a core memory, like it was long ago, but like you'll never forget it no matter what.
Yeah.
It's either like really impactful or just like something that like really changed like maybe the way you think about something. And I remember my first session at TKI, or just my first handful of them. And my mom would always just call me after and be like, "How did it go? Like, are you enjoying it? Yada yada yada." And like my first couple of sessions, I struggled so much because the thought process and like the tactical understanding of it and doing multiple things at once, just everything you get in a match was just like really tough for me to like understand in the first few weeks of working there. And mom's like, well, like, how are the people there? Is like that lady Jill, like Maria, are they nice? And I was like, Mom, I don't think I saved a single ball today. And they said nothing but positive like words, and they were so kind. Like I think some days I was ruining the drills, honestly. Like I was just a drill killer.
It wasn't
like,
that bad though. Like for
yeah,
people who
but-
aren't listening, like it wasn't that bad. Like you're being tough on yourself.
Fair. But
Did
to
you
the
have to step
level,
out a couple times because you might throw up? Yes.
yeah, the fitness was an issue too. But
But
it
you
was
weren't
just
a
like
bad goalkeeper, Kieran Burns.
no,
Don't
I'm not
believe
saying that. But the level of like the sessions that I was in, like it was really hard for me to grasp. And like I remember Jill talking to me after, and she's like, "You're doing so well." Like, and then I'd go home and be like, "Man, I can't wait to go back." Like I'm learning so much, and like they don't really care about my performance right now. They're just trying to help me, and I feel like they're really invested in me. And like that was huge for me. I was like, they really care about my development, and they just want the best for me at the end of the day. So like I don't feel like I have nothing to lose just continuing to train and trying my best.
I feel like I could have tears in my eyes listening to your story. And I think it's probably really relatable for a lot of people too. Like if you're listening at home, share this with a fellow goalkeeper that you think you could use it, or like one of your athletes that you think you could use it if you're a coach, because I think that your story is really important.
I appreciate it. And like, just like, I guess my like ideas on the position and stuff, just like, I feel like one overall, like the goalkeeper definitely needs their own investment. And we've talked about it a lot. Like it's, in my opinion, like you have to manage so many things in a match. And to me, I think it's one of the most challenging positions in the game, like if not the most challenging. And I see like a lot of results when goalkeepers have a clear investment from a specific coach, whether if it's at the college level or just through individual training that we do or group sessions, because they get exposed to things that, or they get exposed more to things that they would see in a match compared to like just a small sided game in training. So for me, I just feel like putting them in those tactical situations is super important and giving them the reps, because like in a small sided game, you might get one ball whipped in from the half space. And that's something that you struggle with. And like that one rep's not really going to make that much of a difference in the long run, especially if you have a match this weekend. But if you have a goalkeeper coach specific, like you get 45 minutes of balls from the half space, and maybe that gives you a more clear understanding of like how to position yourself or what to do. So I just think it's super important to like, just like how we normally teach it, like game like scenarios that will really make the goalkeeper feel like it translates to when they're in the match. Like, oh, I saw this in training today with Tori. Like this is really clear in my mind of what my options are and what I can do in this scenario.
So kind of building off that, but also like your lived experience, how do you recreate that for your athletes? Let's say you're doing a group class or you're working camp or you're doing an individual. How do you kind of use that to help you recreate your style, or, you know, like, I guess for a lack of a better way to say it, like create that TKI environment so that the athletes you work with get that same experience you had?
Yeah, that's a great question, honestly. First, I would try to assess like what the goalkeeper needs at the end of the day. So I really do like to ask them sometimes, because I feel like as much as it's important for me to know what they need to work on, at the same time, I feel like it's important for them to a certain extent to take ownership of their own development. And I don't see them on the weekends for their matches and stuff. I might see a group once a week usually. So I normally ask them like, hey, is there something in a match that you've been struggling with or where you need more support? And then we normally go from there. If not, I normally just try to watch them through training. Some kids I have once a week, twice a week. So
Right.
their struggles or where they need support is pretty clear to me after, 1 or 2 hours of training, and where I can try to help them. And then it's just trying, like, just from watching the match, like you said, I do like to watch a ton of matches on the weekends. It's normally what I spend my Saturdays and Sundays doing is watching, especially the Premier League. And over the years, I've spent a lot more time watching the NWSL just because I think it's important to me and it's important to you guys. So I think it's really important that a lot of people tune in, because the game is, NWSL is sick. That's another conversation. But just trying to, like, see what happens in the game, and with my resources, how I can incorporate that in training. Like, if I'm working on the half space, we've been talking about the half space a lot. That's why it's on my mind. But, like, can I get pressure in the box? Like, that's normally the case. Like, can I have an active defender? If I have 5 kids, that's pretty easy for me. You know what I mean? Like, can I have 2 servers at the end of the day? And just trying to look at the game through, like, just watching it live and just see where I can replicate that in training with the players that I have. Tougher in an individual setting, but a lot more easier in group classes.
Yeah, I think that's how they're going to develop, right? Like, you want to create that environment that creates game realistic scenarios and helps them get that repetition without having to be like, do this, do that, do this, then. It's like, let them kind of explore and figure it out. What about the support end of it? So how do you incorporate, like, your encouragement, your support to kind of drive the environment and give them that feel of it?
Yeah, so I feel like what I'm very passionate about, especially just because of, like, what we talked about a little bit earlier, just like my story in general, is like making sure that all the kids that I work with really feel that I'm invested in them and that I really do care about them. And I love hearing from, like, about all their matches or training or just about their day, their week, because, like, developing that relationship is really important to me, because then you just understand that, like, I'm there for you guys at the end of the day. And I've always tried to serve the kids or the goalkeepers as much as I possibly can. And that's, again, very important to me. And just, like, highlighting their wins as much as possible. Like, someone I work with at the facility, Lex Asana, who you're pretty familiar with, her dad loves to send me clips of the game. And, like, he texted me one day, was like, hey, I'm sorry if I'm bothering you, but, like, I just want to share this, or shooting me a couple emails throughout the weeks of clips that he clipped himself just for me to see. And, like, I'm sitting at home, it takes 5 minutes max. And, like, she saved the penalty. She had a very good, like, phase 3 save. She made a spread. She spread outside the box and, like, caught it with her legs and stuff. And, like, that's just like, wow. So next time I see her, I, like, look, I'm like, Lex, those clips, like, I watched with my phone. I was like, these were incredible, like, super incredible. And, like, if you're really encouraging to the kids in the session to where they feel like mistakes are allowed rather than just, like, punished at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's just super easy for them to come in with a really good mindset on, like, I'm just going to be challenged, but supported at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. I love it. And you and I both know that, like, we need more of this. And think back to what you said about feeling really alone as a goalkeeper. I think that is, like, very natural. Whether you have a great support system or not, like, feeling alone as a goalkeeper is something that is pretty commonplace. And I just think it's the nature of the pressure from the position of, like, okay, well, I'm the one who let the goal in. Yeah, everyone's going to tell you, like, there's 10 people that had to get through first. But it still doesn't take away kind of that feeling of, like, all right, well, I let it in and now I have to pick it up out of the back of the net.
Yeah.
Like, what could I have done differently? So I think no matter if you have the best coach in the world, like, the position can feel quite lonely, but us as coaches can definitely aid in making it feel a lot less lonely and then help them work on that part of, like,
yeah, the
managing
weirdest thing
pressure.
for me that continues to happen, like, every so often, a couple weeks, I, like, talk to a parent that's either just watching the session or I just, like, I engage in conversation with them, like, after, or if I'm just hanging out, and they're like, yeah, like, we love coming here because, like, the coaches are just so supportive and so nice. Like, and the first thing I normally say to them is, like, that shouldn't be, like, weird. That shouldn't be different. Like, that shouldn't
That's
be,
not
like,
the golden standard. That
yeah,
should be just the average.
yeah, it should be, like, the baseline. Like,
Right.
I just feel like there's so much pressure on a lot of these athletes to perform and reach the highest level. And again, that's a whole nother topic of conversation too.
Because
But
they're like 7 when people start doing it to them. So, but that's
it,
our
but, like,
talk,
taking
Kieran.
the enjoyment out of the game is what really, like, kills for me to see, is just, like, being so focused on results. And you guys have definitely talked about this a lot, either on the podcast or just, like, in general. But we should, as coaches, like, be kind to these kids and kind to the athletes, because, like, we're there to support them. Like, something that Jill said that really stuck with me is, like, our job as coaches is to serve the kids at the end of the day, or the college athlete, or any level. So for me, it's just, like, one, I want to be supportive, and, like, you gain that respect from them just by putting them in challenging scenarios, and they're like, okay, like this coach really knows how to push me and challenge me. But at the same time, like they respect you a little bit more when you talk to them just as a normal human being at the end of the day. And you'll get a lot more out of them. I can't remember the last time I did a lot more or extra when somebody yelled at me or said something negative to me, or like maybe want to work hard. Like you said something nasty to me and I'm like, man, Tori, I really just want to like go at it now. I really want to put my all into it. Rather than if you're supportive, like it's a lot easier for some kid to be like, wow, he's really here like for this next hour and he's invested in me. I just want to give him all I have today. So that's something that's a lot easier for me to do at the end of the day.
That's brilliant. And it's the perfect segue to my last question. So talk to me a little bit about like what makes a relationship so special at TKI, whether it be between you and our staff or whether it be like between, you and all the athletes we get to work with. What's so special? And I know I'm biased, right? Like, but I'm just going to say, like, we know it's special. Most people who come in will tell us like this environment is special. So I just want to know from your perspective, like, what do you think makes it such a special environment?
To anyone that's listening that's never either been to a session or, you just come onto the podcast just to get some goalkeeper insight, or you just think Tori's very entertaining, because I do. I would say you definitely have to be there and maybe be involved to really understand it, because I don't think the words do enough justice to the environment that we create. Going to TKI every day, I said it in my like Instagram interview the other day, I just feel like everybody really cares about one another. And like, I'll show up to work and I could have a bad day or something going wrong outside of work, which a lot of people do. But if I was like talking to somebody, I could just feel like someone really cared and they'd be like, hey, like, where can I support you here? And where can I help you? And the other great part about the environment is all of us really love what we do. Like we live it, we breathe it. That's all we think about some days. Like I go home from work and I'm watching like clips, or I'm just like thinking about my session. And I just feel like the dedication from all of us to really change the narrative around the position and really push the boundaries of it also helps from like a tactical side and the training that we do. And when you just get a bunch of like wholesome people at the end of the day that just really want to show love to these goalkeepers and understand that they might not get that at club training and are super encouraging and super positive and very motivated to work, like you just can't beat it. And the kids do the same thing. Like we wouldn't be the same environment if it wasn't for the athletes that come into the facility. And I know it's cliche, like a lot of people say it, like we wouldn't be this without that, or like the game wouldn't be as big without the fans. But it's the truth. Like the kids that we get at the Keeper Institute are just incredible. Like very well respected. They're just super positive. They really want to work hard. They buy into what we're teaching. And I think that's really huge. And people like you, Tori, just set the standard every day, and myself just trying to keep that narrative going and not letting anything crush it.
I'm blushing first and foremost. But yeah, no, I totally agree. And I don't think there's anything I need to add except for maybe a shout to Jill and Maria, because they have created and fostered this environment from the top down. And it quite literally would not exist without them. So since Jill's not here, like I'm going to take the moment to give them the praise and honor that they just so much deserve. But you said it perfectly, that is it. Like it's just the support, the care, the empathy and respect for one another, like all the way from the top down to the athletes we work with. But you're right, they're so incredible. And I just love the way you put that. So it's just amazing.
They just like, some of them, like I've had a couple instances where a lot of like, some of the athletes are pretty shy. Like some people are shy, but it's really amazing. Like after like my second or third session with them, or even in the group classes, like you really see their personality show. And like my favorite thing to see is just like when they encourage each other, like whether it's a fist bump in the goal or like them yelling for each other after a big save, because like when you're working with your peers and like you really get support from your peers. And it could be a weird environment. Like you come to work with 5 of their goalkeepers and luckily like
that maybe you've never met.
Oh yeah. And you might not like train on the same team as them, which might make it a little bit easier in my opinion, just like not having that competitiveness of like who's taking the starting role at the end of the day. But it's just really cool to see, like you could be a little bit insecure. Like these 5 people might know more than me, or it's my first time at the Keeper Institute, but then the culture of it, like the kids that have been there that might be in the class or doing the individual, try to bring in the newer faces to make them feel more welcome. And it's just like, it's really incredible to see sometimes that what these athletes are capable of from like a person standpoint, rather than what they can do in the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Kieran, this has been great. I'm not going to ask any more questions because I want everyone to soak this one up, but I just really appreciate you. And I think everyone deserves to know how incredible you are. And I mean, if they want to train with you, just head over to Upper Hand because I promise you no one's going to put more care into you as an athlete. But if they want to just reach out and ask a question, like where's a good spot to kind of reach you? Is it email? Is it Instagram? What's the deal?
Yeah, so my Instagram, it's been on the Keeper Institute Instagram page, but it's kburnsgk_, so kburnsgk_. And my email is kburns@thekeeperinstitute. If you guys have any questions or just want to reach out, feel free to. I'd love to answer any questions you have or just want to talk about the position or anything that's like-minded around soccer. I love it. I breathe it. So anything that you have, I'd love to hear from it.
Absolutely. Hit this man up. He is a young professional and he is going to do great things. So, Kieran, thank you so much for being on today. We really appreciate you, but we'll catch you later.
Yeah, thanks, Tori. Appreciate you guys.